that they are able to get that information protected from an intellectual property standpoint. And Ann had some really great ideas on new things to do. She's pursued level 42 and understands how that can help as well. And so, Ann, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit about you and some of your thoughts on how they might think about protecting themselves. And I've got a few questions on the backside of that.
Okay. Okay. Well, hey everyone. So I've been around, right? So my background was in pharmaceuticals. My thesis advisor was the inventor of Lyrica. So it's like the starting point of a lot of different things. So there's a lot of I have to say there's a lot of misconception, obviously, like with regard to how patents are perceived nowadays. But I think what will often people don't realize how catalytic that it could be, right? So I often and then so that's basically what lot of my clients they don't like they wanted to have their ideas delivered. So this is would be your first step, and then when you go raise funding, people would take you a lot more seriously if you have a portfolio going on already, right? So from there.
Okay. And I want to also ask you a couple of questions. A lot of people are concerned about, if I decide to go patent something, then I have to give up all of the knowledge of my patent. And then people can go look at the patent and go modify it. So if somebody was going to patent, let's say, something, an AI product, what would they need to do? I mean, how deep do they need to go? Do they need to go all the way down in the deep areas of how the prompts were constructed, or how would they approach that?
So there's a couple of different ways of protecting, right? And especially like in the really fast evolving AI space. So one of the things that I regularly advise my clients is, in certain ways, so maybe I should unwind. Maybe I should start from the beginning. So in order to protect software, so AI is software, right? So unless you're doing hardware, like that's the GPUs and chips, that kind of thing. But I assume that we're talking about software. So
Right.
software is all flowchart based. That's why it's so fascinating when Lee showed me, what his system can do, like a level 42 can do. And I was thinking, that's why I can understand him so perfectly, because when I construct a software patent, what is required is a flowchart, is how the system actually works. So the coding, ironically, the coding in and of itself is not required. So the coding only becomes relevant when you get into a litigation setting where they have to, like they have to compare codes and everything. And then, of course, auxiliary protection would be, you want all of your code always copyrighted.
So Sean and I have worked together on a lot of training approaches, but he is by far the world expert on this. So I'm going to let him talk about it from his perspective a little bit on how we would do that and do it effectively.
Sure. Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. Sean Wood. So, with training, there are a few standard things that everybody knows about. It really depends on where your organization is in their journey. As Marty referenced, the maturity assessment's a big part of where to start. So, making that choice really depends on what are your learning objectives, what are the skills specifically you need, and that'll really tell you how do you need to approach it. Is it a workshop in person? Is it a virtual environment, or is there a blended learning that you might want to do? So, when you look at your audience, who are you going to be training in your company or organization? What's their technical expertise? What's their scheduling look like? A lot of factors come into play of how we would approach it to help us determine the best path forward. We know that everybody has different learning preferences. So some are visual, some are audio, most are a mix. Where are they geographically? What languages need to be considered? With budget constraints, that helps determine, there's the There's the really gold standard, which is the in-person workshop training for AI development, but that is costly to get everybody into the same room if there's travel or otherwise. So